Hello, my beautiful friends, my fellow seekers, my fellow warm-hearted, joy, calm-seeking creatives out there. I'm so excited to chat about this Taurus full moon and partial lunar eclipse beginning on November 19th. This is the start of eclipse season. This go around, we have two eclipses this season. This one in Taurus on the 19th and a second one in Sagittarius on December 4th. And what's really interesting about these two is that Taurus begins a new eclipse cycle where we will be having our eclipses in 2022 and into 2023 in Taurus and Scorpio. The second eclipse, which we'll get into a little more deeply next chat, is in Sagittarius, which is closing out a little over a year and a half of eclipses happening in the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. So this eclipse season is a real change in flavor. It's a beginning and a closeout all in one, which is like eclipses already have a lot of that energy of beginnings and endings. And this eclipse season just happens to be a shift out eclipse season, which means that for this eclipse, we're going to be starting to work with some new energies, a little bit more of the flavor of the upcoming year. And that when we get to our next eclipse, we're also going to be closing out, concluding and releasing anything that we don't need to bring with us from this last year and a half. So this is a really, really potent, powerful, beautiful time. I think this eclipse season in general is really here to just support us and coming home to ourselves and just kind of checking in, getting a lay of the land, getting ourselves into a headspace of what feels right for us moving forward, whatever that is, right? To just take a moment, take a breath, take a time to check in with ourselves and get aligned with wherever we are now. And so I really love these eclipses. And if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know that I am not about the drama-based readings. I'm not interested in using these systems to add stress to our lives. I really love to work with this energy, looking at what's really trying to be done here. And in the case of this Taurus partial lunar eclipse, this is an energy that is all about coming back to life. You know, this full moon and partial lunar eclipse activates the Taurus Scorpio axis, which is the death and rebirth axis, the creative axis. This is such a core and essential energy, and I love it so much. And as we're working with the Taurus energy here, this is about coming back to life. This is about coming back to curiosity, joy, that kind of warm, playful sensation that's in our bellies that was so natural to us when we were like 5 or 6 playing outside on the sidewalk. And that sometimes we can, as adults, detach from, go away from, right? We can kind of lose contact with it. So this full moon and this eclipse is asking us to kind of check back in with that, come back into that, reignite some of those fires. Now, as with any good, clear eclipse, there's also going to be a theme of letting go, of releasing. And in this case, and you know, we're getting close to the end of Scorpio season as this eclipse is happening. So this is a season of release. This season of release, it's a lot to do with the inner cynic, pessimist, critic, that voice that often has served to be a protector, to kind of look out for anything shady, right? A lot of times we develop these voices because we want to keep ourselves protected. And so this full moon and this eclipse is going to also be a check-in with any cynical, pessimistic voices and really questioning them, because not all of those voices are going to be valuable or needed in the coming year, in the coming weeks, in the coming months, from where you are now moving forward. And a lot of them are going to be unnecessary completely, right? They are just there repeating things that are hurtful, tiresome, scary. And there are so many voices that amplify that, just available in this age of the internet. It's very easy to, if we have an inner pessimistic voice, it can be matched on the external very, very easily. So this is a really great time to just question and pay attention to any of those harsh voices that we have kind of, maybe they might have built up over this last year and a half. They might have come in recent months. They might be ones that you've had with you for a long time and you're just ready to let them go. But this full moon and this eclipse is here to help us do just that. And it's not to say that having, sometimes a bit of an investigative or skeptical voice in the world isn't valuable, right? It's good to ask hard questions. It's good to be thorough. However, so often we have more of that energy than we actually need to take with us in the world. So this moon is really about coming back to almost a sense of innocence, almost a sense of remembering what it means to wake up or just be in your day and do something that just lights up that warm, cozy, good butterfly feeling in the solar plexus, in the heart, and allows us to move out into the world. And I want to just mention as well that Taurus is an energy of sustained building over time. It's very connected to root systems, to kind of the symbolism of seeds that grow over time, of crops that grow over time, things that you plant and you intend and you allow and you nurture into being. And so I also want to remind us that as we're working with this energy, and we'll continue to work a lot with Taurus energy in the coming year, because the north node of the moon is going to move into Taurus. So we'll talk about this more, is that this is going to be a time where it's about building into beauty and joy and really taking our time to cultivate a relationship with that and be really, really purposeful and committed to it. So that's really the core message of this full moon and eclipse. Now, there's a lot of transits going on all around this. This full moon is going to be trining Pluto and Capricorn, amplifying that sense of release, that we are empowered in transformation, that we are safe in transformation, and that if we're willing to just allow ourselves to move through it, we can really come to feel safer in ourselves. This full moon and eclipse is also squaring Jupiter in Aquarius, and that is going to be about questioning what we want to expand. Do we want to expand every project in our life? Do we want to, expand every thought pattern that we have in our life? Where are we actually not wanting to expand things? Where are things we just want to let go of? Just say, I'm not going to keep doing that project. I'm not interested in continuing this routine or this thought pattern. And that it's a really helpful square in so many ways, because it asks us to just take a look around and notice what we have in our bags and what we are ready to just put down. We also have Mars in Scorpio opposing Uranus in Taurus, this is kind of a surprising, playful energy. It's very much about something changing tone, something breaking open. There can be a sense of movement in something that has felt a little bit stuck. There can be even, the way I like to think about this is, as we're checking in with ourselves during this eclipse, having an aha moment about something that we are ready for change on, or that we are craving in our lives. So kind of having some surprises from within. So there's a lot going on during this full moon and lunar eclipse, as I'm pointing out here. There's a lot of really potent, powerful fixed sign energy moving through, asking us to question, asking us to sit with ourselves. But what I really want to focus on here in our chat is, like I said, this is about coming back to life. It's about giving ourselves the permission to re-access playful, curious, joyful, warm, soft aspects of ourselves. And that's not to say that many of us haven't had moments where we are very deeply connected with that part of ourselves. But what I want to say is this: we want to really give ourselves full permission to reactivate this part of our life. We want to really, during this full moon and eclipse, to just affirm that we are allowed to do this. Because here's the deal. I was thinking about this topic a lot, because so often where we stop ourselves from getting back in touch with that warm, wonderful core of creativity and playfulness and childlike joy is, there's a couple prongs to it. One, it feels like this mountain we have to climb. Like, if we're going to get back in touch with that part of ourselves and have it be the motor through which we move through the world, the way that it's so often talked about, it's like we have to be in this like dominating, aggressive, on top of it, determined part of ourselves where it's just like, I'm gonna make this happen, right? And that just feels intimidating. It feels exhausting. It feels like there's no way I can, how do you even begin that from that standpoint, right? The other place that I think we often cut ourselves off or don't give ourselves permission is that we feel like it's frivolous, it's not worth it. Is it really going to make a difference? And I just want to lay to rest both of those places in ourselves where we can hit a little bit of a wall. Because one, this is not frivolous. This is not frivolous. This isn't about, putting our head in the sand and being in a manic state where we're hyperactive and we're just like, all day. Like for me, this joy and this creativity and this warmth, it actually has space for all the emotions in it, including grief, confusion, exhaustion. It's more of this sense of just knowing that we are allowed to come back to this place and check in with it and hear what it has to say and allow those little nudges and whispers to move with us. So first, there's that. Second, this is not about domination, force, like getting it all done, conquering the project of coming back to a joyful, beautiful life. This is about moving slowly into it. So if you happen to be somebody who's maybe gone through a recent season of feeling a little bit more detached from this joy center, from this kind of calm, warm, playful, curious, creative place, and you're feeling a little bit like, how do I even begin? Just know that it begins very small. It begins wherever you are. And it doesn't need to be these huge leaps and bounds of creative manic activity. In fact, I would say that isn't even what this is really about. It's about the small nurturances that we do for ourselves. It's about that moment we take where we take a deep breath and we actually hear whatever emotion needs to come through. Or when we take that time to put on our favorite song and dance around our apartment too, when we haven't done that for many months. Or to go on that walk, or to sit out on the balcony on a really cold day, but just have the fresh air and that cup of coffee. I don't know, whatever it is for you. It starts small and it continues to be small, but the difference is that we just allow ourselves to show up to it. So I really wanted to make that clear because I do think that sometimes when we're talking about coming back to life with that spark of joy, with that spark of the desire to be in the world, connected, doing beautiful things for our communities and for the people around us and for ourselves, and living from that place of trust and joy and giving ourselves a space to heal our trauma and not only go through and feel all of that, but also to reconnect with the world. It is just a process of gentle love. It is a process of just showing up to it and bearing witness to ourselves. And it's really that simple. And so this full moon is just that invitation. This eclipse is just that invitation to return to that warm, playful, creative, soft voice and to question the inner pessimist and cynic. And put that inner pessimist and cynic where it belongs in the hierarchy, which is not in the driver's seat. It is not the greatest driver in the world. It can be helpful in asking good questions. If you're meeting new people, you're trying to say yes to something, sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a voice that can keep an eye on everything. But it isn't the voice that should be in charge. It isn't the voice that should be heading up the committee. And this is a really great time to put it back in its correct spot. Let's see what card wants to come out. Queen of Cups. Very interesting. Because, this is a Taurus full moon, but the Queen of Cups, is a very meditative energy. She's so focused on her cup. She's kind of almost, the way that I see her, she's in a trance state in a little bit. This is about meditation. It's about really bearing witness to ourselves. I almost feel like when she's holding this cup, she's kind of holding her spirit and taking a moment to really witness and sit with herself and her process, where she is. And there is a focus, there is a determination, but there's also a sense that it's worth the time. to sit with our spirits. It's worth the time to be soft with it. It's worth the energy to just show up that one little bit to start off. That's what I see with Queen of Cups. I think the other thing I would say is, I only mentioned this briefly, but there's going to be that Mars-Uranus opposition. Pluto's getting activated during this full moon and eclipse. And eclipses do bring fresh perspectives. They do bring new information. And I think, Queen of Cups for me is like, really listen into your soul, because there's something that wants to be heard. There's something that wants to be acknowledged, shifted, grown, expressed, right? And it's something that maybe we haven't felt ready to hear it yet. Maybe we are just now getting to a place where we feel we can be playful and curious about it. But just be open to yourself. Just be open to hearing yourself, whatever it is that's coming up. I would highly recommend, free writing about what's coming up for you during this full moon, and let it rip, let it come out, so that you can see what is wanting to be expressed, because there is so much new energy springing to life as we head into 2022. We're going to keep having these moments of kind of new perspective, fresh ideas, fresh energy moving through. And this is just the beginning of it. So this is a really great time to start letting ourselves tap into that wisdom and start tapping into the new energy that's coming in, because we have been working with one mega lesson cycle for 1.5 years and more even. And it is this sense that there's something now. Now there's a next chapter with it all. I'm going to be going much deeper on an activation for this full moon and eclipse over on my Patreon. That's where I'm able to offer that extra support and really tap in. We do really beautiful activations and really take the time to sit with it very close to the actual full moon and eclipse. I'd love to see you there. You can also find me on my website and on my Instagram, which is @SarahVrba. There's only one true Sarah Vrba, so I'll leave all those links below. I love you all so much. Have a gorgeous full moon in Taurus and eclipse season. I will be back here so soon for our second eclipse in Sagittarius, and to close out a very long and intense chapter that we have been doing with the South Node in Sagittarius. And I will see you all so very, very soon. I hope you'll stick around and like and subscribe.